missing our two best fans. So we got that there. We don't need this anymore. We got to change this one over to Reddit. This is what happens when you think you're ready, but then you realize you weren't ready. But that's okay, because, hey, fuck, we're making it happen. Welcome to Grinding Gainz, Caffeinated Critique. Hope you got your best cup of coffee available to you. If not, get something that tastes good and let's hang out. That's how we become YouTube famous right there, baby. All shitting aside. Are you a tortoise or a hare? I'm looking good. We got that camera, not that camera. I could probably do both of them, but it is what it is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I guess I didn't put a meme up today. Shame. What's today's meme, John? Not that, people come looking for them. In effect, I think this was it. What do we used to open it with? Just open it. Why does it have to? Boom. All right. See, we got to go to this one. Oh, there's the dogs. Hello, dogs. Blondie and Sparky, they're here today. Hanging out with us this morning. That was not the intended. There we go. And we still got the dogs, right? Win-win. Welcome to Range Fitness Online. I'm John. RFO John, if you can't put that together for our terrible fucking channel name. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Anyways, we're here to help out people with pain in movement and exercise. This isn't stuff if you've got cancer or infection or something that, fuck, if your leg's broken, I can't help you with that. I'm going to help you with the movement patterns after you've healed from those things. But here is about, you reach back behind you, something went pop in your shoulder, you got it checked out. The doctor says, leave it alone, let it rest. You followed their orders, still bugging you. Maybe you did some PT and you found, even this isn't still helping. Something's not right. You got things you want to do. You're trying to get after them. But again, whether it be a shoulder pain, low back pain, hip pain, ankle pain, knee pain, like, you just know something's not right and you're looking for some help. You found the place. It's here. What we're doing right now. Help you. Any case. Whole premise of the Thursday morning show is if you've got a lift or a movement pattern that you're wanting help with your workout or your exercise routine, feel free to post it up on our Reddit. Same, where's my mouse cursor? Come here, little mouse. Range Fitness Online. Very creative. We are very creative. Any of it, come slide out to our subreddit. Put your video up there. All right. I guess I'm going to do the boomer thing here. I think this also will start my Autobot. Autobots, a symbol. I guess it's chatbots, not Autobots. So, if you need help with something, upload it here. I'm sure I could use Discord. I know there's Discord out there, but this is what I'm using right now. Yeah. We get a few more people clamoring for Discord, then we can deal with it. But put your lifts in here, put your movements in here. And Thursday mornings, I'll review it live on stream just for you or whoever's out there. We also post this up on the YouTube, so if you're not able to make the stream, it will be out there for perpetuity, forever and ever. My dumb ass talking to the internet. Like, ooh, a chatter. No, it's just my dumb ass too. So today's stream, are you the tortoise or the hare? So philosophical. The fuck you talking? It's like that silly fable, Aesop. The more I was kind of thinking about things, I think a fly died on my little window thing. I wasn't sure. I had he was there yesterday, and I thought he was dead, and then he was still there today. Just make sure. The thing hasn't moved for a day solid, or it might be dead. Squish it. Feeling back. Get this train back on the tracks. Like, I'm damn near 40, y'all. And as I look back on where I've been, the paths I took or didn't take, one of the things I've realized, man, like fucking Aesop's Fable is where it's at. Not just Aesop's Fables, but the story of the tortoise and the hare. Like, I know we all know it, and I'm sure anybody who's ever heard it, it's like, yeah, I get it. Take your time, you'll get there. Right. I am of that generation. I am of that genetic makeup of like, I want the shit now. Like, fuck, instant gratification is probably one of my biggest banes in life. But I was fortunate somehow, some way to, despite being a scrawny little kid who was not very athletic in a lot of senses, right, I was able to find a way away from like steroids or HGHs or anything of that nature. I'm really thankful for it for so many reasons, right? Least to mention is like all the health complications that come from that kind of stuff. But back then, like I had a shit self-esteem. Like I knew I wasn't the fastest. You just look around and you as a kid, you can figure out where you are in the hierarchy of those things pretty quick, right? I made good grades, but I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the top of the class. Well, to be fair, like in third grade, I was one of three. In like fourth and fifth grade, I was like one of 5 or 6. Probably wasn't until seventh, eighth grade that I had like classes probably of like 40. I know. Wild. And I graduated with like a class of 50 to 75. But again, even being a small population size like that, we all have we all sense ourselves in those hierarchies, I think, in a lot of cases. And so like it was just, I did the workouts, I'd go to practice, and in a lot of cases I just felt really fortunate to be able to get to go play games, football, get to go run track, pole vault and stuff of that nature. And I attribute a lot of it to this being in a smaller school. I mean, I had buddies of mine who clearly bigger, stronger, and faster than me. We go play basketball on the weekends, or we go play, pick up football on the weekends, and he would demolish me every way, But he went to a bigger school than me, right? And so even he had to sit. And so I knew where I knew I wasn't anything hot. There was no college coming to look at us to give us a scholarship, I didn't feel. So, right. It's hard to kind of fight off those cravings maybe to get quick fixes, especially when we're in pain. And I mean, even with my hip imbalance, right? Like I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to go surgery. Like that was just such a big thing, but it would have been easy to go down like the painkiller route. And so one thing I've learned just from observation over, again, fucking old ass here, 40 years, was it old head? Is if you just keep chipping away, right? Just keep chipping away. Do the things that make the body feel good. Don't do the things that make the body feel bad. It's corny. It's dopey. It's no duh. I get it. But I think we lose and we forget that when we're exercising. We have this sense that exercise has to be this painful endurance, this painful existence. And really, exercise is something that we use to strengthen our bodies. And we should think of it as that way all the time. It's a strengthening effort. So with that, right, that's where I, eventually got to where I am today in coaching and teaching this stuff. And this is where I feel my body is probably the strongest it's ever been. Now, I'm not lifting the heaviest weights I've ever lifted, but my body feels fucking fantastic. Is it anecdotal? Sure. But I've had 300 pounds on a bar before on my back. I went up and down. I don't remember. I'm sure it was a trash squat. I've picked up 225, 255 off the ground. All right, it's fine. It's what it is. And if that's your goal and that's what gets you going, I get it. And I'd still want to help you build your body to where you can do those things. Like if I can pick up 315 and my body still feels great about it, I'm all for it. But it's just making sure we layer the foundation appropriately so that way we don't end up with pain or RSIs. But enough chit chat. Let's get to the video so we can learn. I think that was, an intro, a segment. All right, y'all. So as I was alluding to earlier, if you have a video that you want reviewed, you want the eye of a personal trainer, right? I am accredited. I didn't keep this, but I do have my little certificate. Right. I dug this out the other day, right? I once, we'll cover up their logo. We won't promote them. I once was a fancy trainer somewhere at a gym. So if you would like my advice, my expertise, and helping you out with whatever movements you're working on, feel free to upload them. And if you aren't comfortable uploading, I get that. Feel free to hang out and ask questions. Stop me in my tracks. This is all about y'all helping you get better with your lifts. Yeah, I'm going to work on myself too and get better with my lifts, but you gotta make lemonade with lemons. That landed. Silence is acceptance. I appreciate that, chat. Just accept it. All right. So we're getting into Romanian deadlift here. Romanian RDL, Romanian deadlifts. I don't have the history of it. I'm just assuming it was the Romanian lifting teams that really popularized these as a powerlifting exercise for Olympic training. That being said, in my mind, I think of this really as an isolation lift. It's not really in complete sense. But we're really just trying to hinge about the hips to create the movement, keeping the knees out of the way or keeping the knees from bending forward. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a lateral view today, or not today, but of this session. So we're only going to just get my ass shot, and then we're going to have a shot of my 8 head because of the camera so close. So I'm going to be working on a video with Paul, I think next week, which we're going to talk about hip hinging and a dowel hip hinge. And it's an assessment tool I use with clients for core engagement. But it's basically this exercise. Now, whoop, getting click happy there. Now this is just the bars in my hands right in front of me. So when I hinge at the hips like this, we call it a Romanian deadlift. If I had the bar on my back, like a back squat, slide down. Oh, nope. I think I have a squat. Well, can't quite see it. All right, so if we had the bar in this setup and we hinged at the hips in that same manner, it would be referred to as a good morning, right? So it's one of those kind of things I get where exercise can be confusing. You have the same movement pattern, but we changed where the load is on the body. So it's going to change the recruitments. It's not to say that your back and your erectors and all those aren't going to be firing with the bar here in this position. However, when we have that bar on our back, it's a different leverage point. Thus, all those muscles in the back are going to have to fire even harder to keep whatever that mass is on your back from breaking your spine forward, so to speak. Not like a literal break, but just break the integrity of the structure. Either case, though, it's all a hip hinge motion, right? It's still, so I was saying this in another video on I think conventional deadlifts, but any type of deadlift action, conventional deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, single leg deadlifts, whatever, trap bar deadlifts, the upper body is just an isostatic move, if you will. And that's not even the right way of saying it. It's just an isostatic effort. There is like no bending of the spine, twisting, turning. There is none of that. The movement all should facilitate from the hips, knees, and ankles, all from that lower body. Right? We have contractions going on in the upper body, but we're not having them elongate and eccentric, right? It's just staying tight, 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 tight. And so if we can keep that kind of at mind, right, then that helps us keep everything else in place on the movements. I'm not really sure where I was going with that point. All right. So on this one, again, we're trying to inhale on the way down with the weights as I sit back into the hips, and then we exhale pressing up. Now, one of the things I've been really having a problem with is my right shoulder, and it's not quite as evident from these views, but I'm feeling, and again, that camera angle might be a little asymmetrical, and we might be a little off center, but I feel like the distance on the left side is a little higher than the right side. Right. All right, so we see like here versus there. All right, so that looks a little askew. Or the other view might be, again, just checking it from this parallel line. Okay, so from that bar to the rack, and this one to the rack. Other things might be is like where my elbow tips are. My elbow. Where's this elbow? It's interesting, huh? Looks like this elbow actually might be high. Maybe not. They look pretty even. But so it looks like we might have a little bit of rotation occurring in the body or even in the hips, right? So we look even at the hips here. Oh, that was a fucking terrible line. We look at the hips here, right? It even looks like maybe we're a little lower on this side and a little higher up on this side. Now, again, the fuck does it matter, John, man? You like, look how far down you're getting. It's excellent. Whatever. I can't even touch my toes. You're right. You're right. I ain't like trying to brag or like hate on myself. You ever driven in a car that pulls to the right? You're going down the road, and the only way to drive straight is to pull that wheel a little to the left. And it's not much, like, but you know, if you like had to go fuss with something in your cup holder, or if you had to use both hands for something, like the car would just leisurely drift to the right, and eventually right into the next lane or into the curb or wherever you don't want to go. You know, some days you're feeling spunky and you're on the highway and there's this just like easy turn to the right. So you just kind of let the wheel off, the hands off the wheel, and you just allow the road and the car to just take the right turn, right? But if you allow that to go on for much longer, what's going to happen? Slowly, you're going to have to start pulling that wheel a little further to the left. More and more, you'll find that there's a lot more play in the steering mechanism. And then sooner or later, you might notice, you know, your wheels start wearing uneven. Your tires start wearing unevenly. Maybe you start noticing like you get a blowout on one tire. Right. There is an earlier signal before the blown out tire, before the chewed up tires. There is that little pull to the left. there is that fact the car really didn't drive as straight as it should. That's this. At least for me in this moment, right? And right now, my right hip is seemingly shooting up a little bit higher than my left hip, which is causing my body to rotate a bit like that. Now, for many, like, there's no way to really tell this is happening. I mean, okay, yeah, I could either use like the big wagon wheels, weights. I could use the safety bars here, right, and find it. But even then, like, these safety bars on this rack wouldn't be low enough for me to get to this depth. So there's that. Even the hooks aren't low enough for me to get to this depth. So maybe I could put boxes. Right, and so that way I feel the depth, and I could feel if I was twisting. You know, if you do conventional deadlifting, that's actually a really good kind of game to play within the game, the game within the exercise, if you will. Is if you're doing conventional deadlifting, are you hearing the clink, or do you hear clink? Now, if you just let the bar down, like if you just, like a lot of deadlifters like to do, well then, in fact, that's not going to give you the same. But if you work on setting the bar down, right? Do you notice? You staircase it? Like, are you reaching with one side and then you set the other side down? Is it always the same? Do you find that it's always the right? For some reason, the right side always just clinks on the ground first. And those are just these little observations, if you take the time to be aware of, right, is going to show you a bigger picture of what's going on. So again, for me, I don't really have any pain going on, but I've got this shit going on my right shoulder. And so I feel that might actually be a little bit at play with this. All right, so what's going on, and Paul recently just helped me clear this up for myself. I don't know how much we'll be able to actually see in this. God damn it. Enhance. All right, that's this. Oh, nope. Can we let's make it tiny. So for me, right, I get a little bit of littlest nagginess through here from time to time. And the other thing I've been noticing is my scap right here wings ever slightly. You can't really see with this shirt. At least I don't feel you can. You can kind of see how the way the shirt's a little bit bunching up differently. But doesn't seem to be too much difference here. But where do you see the big difference? And again, to my eye, while there is maybe a little more space here, I feel this elbow looks to be a little bit more behind me. Like it's coming out of the page, whereas this one looks to be more going into the page. And so again, it's brevity in through here that's pulling my shoulder kind of forward and down. Right? And so again, we have some shortness on that side. And so as I go down, I feel that's causing me to be a little bit twisted on the way down. That one looked a little better. We're setting it back up. So those are things. So the big thing that he offered me, and it fucking makes so much sense to me. But he's basically just grabbing my ear and reaching and stretching this sucker out. Now, stretching again, it doesn't create any change. right? It creates a little bit of a truest sense of a stretch. It's just telling it to shut up. It's telling the muscle to sit down and shut up. Stop making noise. Stop doing so much. Just stop. There's that is it? Who was his name? Not Dan Quayle. Bob Hope. Bob Hope, like, this was one of the funniest things I thought when I was younger. Let's see, we'll see this come through.
Dr. Switzer?
Yes, come in. I'm just washing my hands.
I'm Catherine Bigman. Janet Carlisle referred me.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we got this old man. You know who he is, and
Yes.
older than me, probably.
Yes, that's me. Should I lay down?
Oh, no, we don't do that anymore. Just have a seat. And let me tell you a bit about our billing. I charge $5 for the first 5 minutes, and then absolutely nothing after that. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Too good to be true, as a matter of fact.
Well, I can almost guarantee you that our session won't last the full 5 minutes. Now, we don't do any insurance billing, so you would either have to pay in cash or by check.
Wow, okay.
And I don't make change.
All right.
And go.
Go.
Well, tell
What?
me about the problem that you wish to address.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm not condoning this as a way of, like,
I have
treating
this
somebody
fear
or taking
of
care of it.
being
This is
buried
just what I
alive in a
think about when
box.
someone stretches and what we're doing when we stretch.
I start thinking about being buried alive, and I begin to panic.
Has anyone ever tried to bury you alive in a box?
No, but truly thinking about it does make my life horrible. I mean, I can't go through tunnels or be in an elevator or in a house, anything boxy.
So what you're saying is you're claustrophobic.
Yes, that's it.
All right, well, let's go, Catherine. I'm going to say 2 words to you right now. I want you to listen to them very, very carefully. Then I want you to take them out of the office with you and incorporate them into your life.
Well, shall I write them down?
Well, if it makes you comfortable, it's just 2 words. We find most people can remember them.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, here they are. Stop it!
I'm sorry?
Stop it!
Right? When we stretch, that's all we're doing. Just telling that sucker to stop it. Stop it. Stop working. Stop doing anything. And this is the problem when we stretch something that hurts. We're telling the muscle that is hurting to stop working when it is fighting for dear fucking life just to stay attached. I know that's a very long ways about to get there. Right? And so when we stretch the wrong muscle, we're telling it to stop working when it really, really needs to be worked in the right sense. And there's another component that is overactive that is causing the discomfort, that is causing the postural, the way you hold yourself, your body's position, the way you hold your posture differently than others. If you've ever done any type of people watching, you know, we all know that people all different shapes, sizes, and ethnicities and that. But look at the skeleton makeup of people, how they carry themselves. The shoulders tilting forward, the heads jutting forward. All right, maybe you notice the pelvis is tilting. Maybe you'll see the knees locking as they walk, and almost like they throw their feet out there versus picking their feet up and setting them down. All right, Paul's even better about this kind of stuff. Like, he takes notes of like people's arm swings and how far one goes in front of the other, like your feet gait, like your walking gait. How far do your feet go in front of your hips? How far are they behind your hips? All these little things show us a picture of what's going on underneath the skin and where there is cooperation and when there is dysfunction. So all that to be said is a sense of, I was having this naggingness through here, and I still kind of have it. And so it's not about trying to stretch, and that's what a lot of us will do. We'll try to stretch that nagginess away, and it will quell it for a moment, but it doesn't fix the problem, and you'll have the same shit come back later. In my mind's eye, I'm always thinking, okay, if that's where my pain spot is, I need to do things to help strengthen that, right? And then I also need to find who is it that's working against it. Right? And sweat towel. Right? We have a towel that's being pulled, right? If I let go on my right side, right, then we can pull some over. If both are kind of close to each other, we have slack. But if I pull on both ends, we get just tension and tension and tension. And whichever arm is stronger or has the better grip, right, is going to end up winning. And so if we have something pulling really hard against this, and I'm feeling it lose. I'm feeling the grip slip, if you will. And that, I mean, that's not exactly what's happening, but I think that's a good way of thinking about it. And so, for me, I'm very focused on the anterior because that's a lot of where my clients have issues. And so I knee jerk go there, and none of that was really helping me out. And if you go back to prior streams, I even show you and talk to you about how I'm doing some of this stuff to help open up my chest and pec minor and some other things of that nature. But unfortunately, or fortunately, right? I say fortunately. You don't ever have one muscle that does one job. Oh, someone's standing up. What's up, Blondie? I think he hurt his tail. Sorry about that, yo. I'm not sure about old Blondie here. Give him a moment there. All right, let's get back to it. I'm sorry. I don't know where we were talking. This morning I noticed he wasn't lifting his tail up like he normally does, so had me a little concerned. Let's move on. We're looking at some RDL stuff. So we got another video we'll look at real quick. Anybody who was here, thank y'all for hanging out. For anybody who is here, just showing up for the first time, thank y'all for coming in. Range Fitness Online. My name's John. RFO John, that's all. Anyways, if you have an exercise or a movement that is either giving you pain or you're just not sure about and want some advice on, sliding into our subreddit. Thursday mornings, 5:30 a.m. I'll get in here and review it for you, give you my professional opinion. And if I see things for you to work on, I'll offer and encourage it. And if it's looking good, man, I'll fucking tell you. And then Tuesdays, we're trying to get Paul and I, we do a video as well or stream together that we're still working on and refining. But, try doing it Tuesday night, but my internet sucked. All right, well, so this rack fucking sucks for us video, it seems. It's not the worst, but it's just kind of in the way. The most kind of critical point, we lose some visual data. Let's restart this right here. So I was talking about this maybe a couple weeks ago where I was saying there's the exercise within the exercise, and even on a Romanian deadlift or a deadlift, anyone, there's picking the bar up. And so on a deadlift or a squat, really make sure that you're using your legs to create the drive. Use your legs to actually pick the bar up. Very easy for us just to kind of lift up through our backs or pull with our arms or something of that nature. In deadlifting, you'll hear it always called as taking the slack out of the bar, which is fine, which is good. That's that idea. You're always just trying to take the slack out of the system, so that way when you create the drive through the body, right, we know what's creating the movement. So getting our grips, getting close to the bar, getting our body all situated, and then really, again, trying to, it's like a mini deadlift from right out of the bar. Then we step back. Now, I take a few extra steps because of the camera, thinking I need to get further back so I don't get this giant 8-head. Vanity gets us all. Inhale on the way back again. This is all hip hinge. Thinking about my booty getting back toward this cable machine behind me. And as my hips go back, that's what allows my chest to tilt down. That's what allows the bar to go down. Everything from my shoulders is staying rigid. I was talking earlier about my shoulder, my right shoulder. And so, again, there's a lot of things that could be going on as far as like camera not being exactly square, but it looks fairly square. That line's going there. Yeah. So there's a little bit of, maybe a little bit off squareness. So that would have some to do. But we look at, again, this line down my shoulder here versus that line. Slight variation in the angles. So again, just showing that there's something not exactly even. Even we're looking at kind of the elbows here. This one's actually. All right, so this is my right arm. So it kind of looks like I might be losing because I'm trying to be too focused over here. Maybe I'm losing a little bit on this one. Again, we look at the elbow pit. I'd like to have that maybe a little bit more rotated in if I could. But all in all, it doesn't look too terrible. But there does seem to be a little bit of an, again, maybe it's just because mentally I'm overdriving that right side. But it does look like we got asymmetry almost onto that side. And if we try to go maybe down the middle here, go shoulder to shoulder. Like, this isn't stuff you need to necessarily be doing this much detail for yourself. But again, in my mind's eye, these are things I'm kind of looking at. And since I'm here, you know, use the tools that we have. And so again, the light doesn't really help with this, but again, we can definitely see something's not even. And I can tell you again for my right side, my right scapula pops up and wings a lot. Now, interesting, right? We can even see how this pinky looks a little different than this pinky. I wonder too if this grip is maybe a little wider. Can't tell. And this is where again you can see it right here on. I can see. I'm not sure about y'all. If you're familiar with barbell lifting, there are markers on the bar to help you have squareness when you grip it. You know, making sure those are always your landmarks. As we get down to the bottom of the lift here, let's see what we see. And we see the shoulders not quite square. The first thing I'm noticing. It actually looks like on my left side, as much as I'm bitching and moaning about my right side in this position looks to be in a better externally rotated shoulder position. Whereas this side looks a little more collapsed. And, you know, that would kind of go into a little bit of what we were saying with that unevenness to the bar as it's coming down, right? On the first video, we're kind of noticing, right? Again, this looks a little lower to me than over here. Right, we see a little less in my wrist, and we can see my full wrist over here. See my elbow pit here, not up here. Some visual cues that, again, something is not quite square. Not everything's even. And despite me being so focused on this guy, it seems I might actually be collapsing a little bit on my left shoulder, my left chest. That I'm not keeping this left shoulder as externally rotated as I would like it to be. That's good to see. That's good to know. All right, so now I can work on making sure and being aware, getting that guy pulled back a little bit more, and then watching for this during my next lifting session. So I'm not going to go up in weight either, right? Like this is, I think I was working 65, maybe 95. I think it was 65. I don't remember. It had just been 65. And so either then, I'm not going to go real heavy in weight or change my weights. I want to keep the weight, even though 65 and 95 is a big difference. Let's see. Maybe you can see it from the side. No, we didn't have a side view, John. Oh, those aren't 25s, are they? This is why you keep a log, gentlemen and ladies. Now those are 10s. Those aren't 25s. So, in any event, keeping at the weight and then practicing and trying to feel out these differences and trying to be a little bit more aware of that at the bottom of my lift for myself. Now, the other thing I'm going to be playing with is this sense of working on this opening up a little bit more into here. And then going into this and seeing how that feels on everything as well. I think that's going to be a pretty big change on how these things feel for myself. And then obviously paying attention a little bit to this left shoulder now in its positioning and not letting this look. Humans are at best dual processors. At best. Realistically, we are really shitty dual processors. Humans are excellent single processors. Give us a task, one task, and we are excellent at getting it. Oh, no, I'm a great multitasker. No. You're not. You think you are. You're not. Maybe you're really good at pairing up like task with like task. It's like if you're carrying all the groceries in, and there's some groceries that go in the kitchen, some that go into maybe the bathroom, and then others that go into the garage or long storage. Right? Some people would take all the groceries and they set them all in one spot, and then they start unbagging them and putting things away and going in and throughout the house. Somebody else might make sure that they got all their stuff bagged and away at the grocery store, that when they got to the house, they can just drop off bags at each location and then whatever. And they maybe get done 5 minutes sooner. It's not that they multitask any better. They just planned a little bit better. You're still doing one thing at a time. And when you stop doing one thing to go do another thing, mentally, you have ejected from a task and you have to now mentally re-engage with a task. And there's always that little bit of friction that occurs during those transition points. Right? And so the fewer friction points, right, the more shit we can get done. So taking it back to exercise, look, there's our feet position, there's our knees, our hips, our shoulders, our head, our elbows, our wrist. Like, there is a lot of fucking things to pay attention to. And you can't pay attention to them all. I can't pay attention to them all. And so we just want to try to have a litany. This little conversation that we a little mantra that we go through in our minds, thinking about our kinetic points or our joints, whatever terminology, get your rocks off. But think about your connection to the ground. Think about every level up until you get to your head. Then we got to think about the movement we're performing. And this is again where I'm going to work on it today. But again, I say there's 7 basic movements. And so if you can learn these 7 basic movements, call it 8 with core engagement, then you can take these cookie cutters and you can apply it to any workout out there. And if you're not sure how to do a particular movement, you just default back to the cookie cutters. When you notice you're having pain or things don't feel even, you look back at your cookie cutter like I'm doing. And you get evidence of, is the cookie square or is the cookie all, like a cookie would look if I baked it? Or does it look like a cookie that my wife baked? And then you can start making these. You can see that, okay, well, this shoulder is a little lower than this shoulder. Well, what would cause this shoulder to be down? And you don't need to know the anatomical term. You don't need to know the muscle. Just say, hey, from this arbitrary point to this arbitrary point, they're close. I need to get them a little bit further. And then so to get them further, we do certain things to stretch it out, train the muscle, that particular muscle in a lengthened position, as it were. Then work on reestablishing, strengthen the antagonist groups. And then, right, we can do a more of compound effort, such as even rows, chest press, deadlifts, all those things that really then test the system, right? Everything you want to rebuild, right? You got to rebuild the small pieces, build them up, and then you plug it back into the system as a whole, and then you test the system. Same idea. Cool. All right. So if you want to think about a lot of things going on, this next one is just it's a fun one. So this is probably one of my favorite and yet least favorite efforts. Anything single leg, I really have a love-hate relationship with. I love them because I know I need more of it. I know it's really beneficial for my overall body function, if you will. But God, do they suck. And they take forever. So right now I'm working on a single leg squat. And I'm using a platform mostly just to help me create that little deficit underneath me, so I can get as close to a squat without having to do too much manipulation of my back leg. Give y'all some landmarks here. perfect. Well, I don't know if it's perfect, but it's what we're looking for. Now, landmarks that I coach and use for myself, and this is going to apply to lunges. This is going to apply for a lot of things. Now, I'm not expressing it in a manner that I'm necessarily happy with, but we're going to deal. So squats, again, I like to have spine and front shin roughly parallel. Well, here I'm doing a good job of expressing that. All right. Again, off a few degrees, so be it. But the important thing is we're not pitched way far forward one way or the other. Now, the other thing I like to landmark for myself and with clients is this back thigh. Now, right now, this back femur is more on that line. And where I would like it more so is maybe a little bit more of a knee bend, such that from my shoulder to my hip, kind of there, but not really. Right? And this would be the ideal, right? This blue line looks purple when it's on top of the red. But that's what we'd ideally like to try to hit for, which would mean I just need a little more knee bend. Right? So that way this red bar would sit up more. I guess we can make it like some green color. I don't know if any of this helps visualize it. But yeah, so that way that we can get that green, green, yellow line in a little bit more. But not too terrible, not too much to be upset about. The relationship that I'm really I know that I was focused on in this was more so my spine relative to this shin and trying to get as much of that established as I could. Partially, mostly because that's the working side. Right. My back left leg here, it's getting some ancillary work, if you will. But the leg that's doing everything really is this right leg. This is the one that my mass is through. This is the one that I'm pushing and standing up through. So while I would like to get this leg in a better position in that its relationship to the spine by bending that knee a little bit more, it's not so detrimental in that in anything that it's not really loaded. So while I'm here, a couple of thoughts. How do we share this? Go new. Yes. Wish to draw. Good. So on that box, my foot is favoring the left side of the box right now. And this is really so that way my off foot can swing kind of freely through that space, and I don't have to worry about kicking the box or the ground or anything like that. Pretty straightforward. Now, other things I'm focusing on, I've talked about this a lot on stream, but is your tripod foot. So while I'm up here on either my right or my left foot, right, I'm trying to maintain connection through those 3 points. And specifically for me, I'm really hammering down on this inseam. That doesn't mean I allow my foot to roll over, right? I don't let the arch or the edge of my foot roll up. Still keep that sucker planted flat. But just taking note, because for many of us, when we're in this position, what ends up happening is we put all of our weight on the outer edge of the foot and we roll our foot out this way. And then we lift up our big toe or we roll to the outside of the foot. And that's not what we want either. Really, and that's where this wall comes into play for me. As I'm using this wall, it's not cheating. It's helping me keep everything right where I want it, because I lack the balance, or I lack the stability to generate and stay there on my own. And so using some external forces to help myself stay in that position and try to train those tissues, train those muscles. Dog's making noise. Now, the other thing I like about this is because we're going down, right? It's an eccentric motion for the leg, right? We're stretching into the glute, lengthening into that left hip. And there you see me kind of fishing around for some things and just kind of getting a sense. Maybe something was kind of pinchy. Not an ideal thing, but it happened. So again, we get down into this position, making sure everything's nice and tight as far as like core engagement, feeling the leg engaged, right? Feeling myself actively pressing through the foot, feeling my glute engaged on that left leg, maybe even a little hamstring activation. And if I need it, which I do, I can use a little bit of my hands to help pull myself up. Even if I need to, I can use this right leg to help myself. You have a slider, right? You put a slider under that foot, and that's a really good variation. Let me get down to the bottom here. Let's see how we're doing. All right, so from here, heel looks fairly flat. That might just be a little bit of the shoe rise, the heel lifting up a little bit. So that's the big thing, is making sure all of our weight is driving down into that heel. That's where this exercise lives and dies. That's how this goes from being like a to S tier. Now, again, from here, keeping that heel down, I am intentionally driving that knee out and over as far as I can. Caveat being the heel, right? I'm doing some landmark checks. It's a terrible straight line. The hip up to the shoulder, about right there. From the heel to the knee, about there. Roughly parallel. Now we see here we're a little overextended in this hip potentially. And I gauge that again by looking at this knee. Knee to thigh. I'm going to extend it. So again, we can kind of see that. Again, if I ideally would be a little lighter bend in this right knee, such that this line could be more there. All right, so again, if you can just envision with me that we just, again, this knee bent more. All right, so it'd be a little bit more like, and then we'd have the knee maybe somewhere right here, and then the rest of the leg back there. That horrible representation, but small potatoes. I love this exercise as a warm-up because again, it's just doing a really good job of taking me into positions that, once we put weight on our back, we're not going to express as deep of positions. It's just the nature of the beast. You want to get as broad of, and ideally we get to express as broad of positions as we possibly can with weight on our back, but sometimes that's not the case. And so giving myself time before I start my workout to knock all the rust off such that I have as broad of ranges of motion available to me before I start. And that's what your warm-up should be. Your warm-up should be more than just, I got sweaty or I got a little flush, right? It should really be, again, trying to take some of your joints, especially your problematic joints, and giving them a little TLC and special attention such that they can perform as optimally as they are able to for your workout. And then again, the workout, you're again just training them. You're not trying to punish them. You're not trying to do anything other than help strengthen the overall structure, strengthen the physical as well as that neurological connection to them. Speaking of neurological connections, fucking push-ups. These are tough ones for me, mostly because I don't do them as often as I should. Last time I demoed these, I felt very embarrassed. Don't go looking for it. Or do. We're going to see, because I haven't watched this video yet. We're going to see if I do better. But in the last time I did these, I felt that my hips were too saggy and that I wasn't engaged as fully in my core as I should have been. So we're going to peel this back for a moment here. I encourage anybody getting into a push-up or working on push-ups. Create a routine on how you enter the push-up. Earlier, I was slapping my gums about broadest ranges of motion and how our ranges of motion become shorter when we have load put on us. Right? And so what I mean by that is if you have your arm extended out as far out as you can, and I came and handed you this towel, you're gonna be like, whatever, fuck it, I can hold on to the towel. Now you're in that same position, your arm's out in front of you, but I go grab one of these weights behind me, specifically like the 45-pound weight, and I put that in your hand. What the fuck's gonna happen to your hand? You're gonna do one of those cool little like, right? You're not. And if it does hit your hand, it's likely gonna throw you. And if you for some reason have the strength or the ability, some ungodly amount of, front delt strength, right? You're still not going to hold it out there. You're going to bring it into your body and then let it sit down. It's because muscles are strong in short positions and they are weak in lengthened positions. So if that's the muscle, let's build it out now. If the body's comprised of muscles, well, when the body's in a lengthened position, it will be weakened. And when the body is in a shortened position or a collapsed position, it will be stronger. And by virtue of some muscles just being bigger than others, right, we tend to get pulled in harder in some cases. Not really the point I was going for. Editors will scratch that one out. The idea, though, is, again, in a push-up, take your time getting into the position. All right, set your shoulders. I'm having all my weight on my knees still. Setting my shoulders, getting those structures organized such that when it's ready to put load into it, I'm not going to default into a crappy posture. I'm going to be in a working position as I slowly put weight in. From here, again, I'm also making sure my core is engaged. I have tension on both sides. And I go kind of quickly through there. But notice, one leg. And while this is happening, I'm still doing a quick check that this is all tight and engaged in my midsection. And there is a distinct load increase as I pick this leg up. One of the things I feel people mess up royally, and this is one of those things that took me a while to learn, movement is not binary. Right? Movement is digital. It's not this analog. Like, there is infinite variability into how we move our limbs. I remember as a kid having this weird thought of like I would just rest. I have this coffee cup, right? Am I pushing on the coffee cup, or is my hand resting on the coffee cup? Right? Now I can push. Yeah, you can see some, but it's just this sense of like, what is it just to let a limb be not active? But then at the same time, I can start lifting my hand off the coffee mug. But visually, it's very, very hard to tell that anything happened. But I can feel something going on in my arm. I can feel work occurring. All right. And then I can lift it off. And so in high planks, push-ups, any type of groundwork I see people do, this is what I always see happening. They're down on the ground, and then they're up. And realistically, the ideal would be we're down on the ground, and we activate, and we engage, and we slowly identify what we want to be engaged in working, and then we create the movement. And then when we go back down, right, we search for the ground, if you will. We search for the coffee cup with our hand. I feel it start touching the bottom of my palm, and then I can slowly just start again dead weighting my hand into the cup until we're back at a relaxed, completely relaxed position. Or I could go again back into the other direction, start pushing. And so again, finding these variabilities in your variabilities in your abilities. It's kind of a weird phrase. But finding the ability for you to express variability in your muscle contractions. And this is how you take a crap yoga practice or a mediocre yoga practice and just turn that fucker up on end and make it one of the most life-changing things you can do for yourself. In yoga, I always like is there's this little glide back into plank. So like think of you're standing on your feet and you bend over into like forward bend or go down into a chair pose. And then slowly, I don't know what it's called, but you get all the way down to where you squat down and your belly's on your thighs, your heels are on your butt, your knees are way over your toes, and your hands are on the ground. And a seasoned yoga practitioner will be able to just gently tilt their mass forward onto their hands, gently lift their feet up, and then there'll have to be a moment of explosion, but then they'll reach their legs out into that high plank. The uninitiated or those who don't have the grace and strength and stability, right? We just kind of like rock forward and wow. And it looks very different. And there's a definite different noise element. Someone who can glide back, right? It will be very quiet and soft. Whereas someone who is less skilled, practiced, or less strong, lacks the strength, right? We're going to probably see the hips shoot way up high in the air and this big collapse into the ground when they try that. So all that to be said, when you're getting into a push-up, when you're getting into a high plank, take your time to get that set up. All right, let's do some work here. All right, you can see my belly wanting to just drop, so I'm trying to feel it out. Maybe I'm just doing chata. I thought I was doing push-ups here. Maybe it's just chata. Chata. Where I'm looking at as far as like grading myself is again looking more from like my ears to my hips. Get that line. About like the seam of my pants or so. So all in all, this doesn't look too terrible. I don't like this. Like my shoulders are here. So that means my head is probably a little too far forward. We go hip to shoulder here. And we see that line. Come up past the head. We'll do a different color so that way it's a little less ambiguous. We'll click on that one and we'll go up to the ear. And just kind of looking at those 2 points. So ideally, right, we want this blue. I'd like that blue line to be up here, so to speak, in line with my shoulders. So the correction of the thing to kind of for me to be looking for, right, would be and just making sure I'm pulling my head back as best I can. And that's a common compensation. And it's not the most horrible position. But again, what keeps catching my eye is this, which makes me wonder how I'm doing through here. All right, and so really what I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out, I think it's going to be my upper abs. Needing to just make sure they're drawn in just a smidge more as we're getting down here to help try to just keep the trying to maintain this relationship on the way down. So you kind of notice the hips went a little first on that. And we can't ever regain it really. And see, as we get more fatigued in this, so it is a chata. I put it as push-ups. We'll have to, anybody catches it, we'll fix it. But we can see too, towards the end of this, now my head is in this position more. I get a little bit more of a straight neck. No longer really in line with the hips as much. Just looking at my neck position here. All right. Very straight. Got this deadpan vision on the ground, just great and everything. But to me, basically looking at I feel like my head should be back a little more. Trying again, have a little bit more of a rigid spine. Again, not the end of the world. I'm not feeling any pinchiness in that back. But I'm wondering again, how connected am I into this anterior? Am I as connected to it as I think I am? That would be my question. That's my concern. All right. So from there, I supersetted with horizontal rows. I don't really, unfortunately, we got very far videos today. So standing rows, if you do these, note that you're going to have to go a lot lighter than probably what you think you're used to. Wasn't thrilled with the grip I had to use, but we used what we got. And so here, I think I even had to change weights. Maybe I'd already changed weights at this time. But I could just feel it was just too heavy and I was having to lean back too much and use a lot of body torsion. And so when we're doing a standing row, it's much more difficult for the body versus a seated row in that we no longer have our lower body seated. So obviously, right. But we no longer have as much to create stability for ourselves. It's just our feet. And because we're real tall when we're standing, again, we're this big buoy. So when rowing when rowing horizontally, but standing, a couple of cool things are different. One, we no longer have a flex tip. Those seated rows, right? You're going to be in this seated position, which would mean that your hips are flexed. And it's fine. It puts a different tension on the lat. It puts more length on the lat on the bottom end because the glutes are lengthened out and everything of that nature. That's fine. What I really like about this one is, first off, it really makes me have to be aware of my feet. It also makes me very aware of my anterior core. So you can use light enough weight. So I don't remember what my stack was, maybe 15 pounds. Right? Nothing world beater. Nothing make you drop your jaw. And I'm trying as best I can to be a statue, right, over my feet. Fighting like hell, not to get into the sense of like I'm leaning back. And I don't want to lean against the weight. I want to stand tall and braced against it and then create that movement with my shoulders and my arms. And again, you will really feel the anterior, your abdominals activate, right? Because as you're pulling back here, there has to be a balance, right? And so you will get this huge like abdominal wall feel as you're rowing. Very exhausting too. So just like on any row, I'm exhaling on the pull. So as I bring it closer, I'm shh. And I'm going to inhale as I let it out. Now, one thing I really try to coach on rows is this terminal position. Maybe at the end, I might let it go all the way, but I'm really trying to keep tension in the shoulders the whole time, right? Where I'm trying to keep this squeeze active the entire time. I'm not trying to necessarily create this big old long lengthened position where I'm now compensating and collapsed in my chest. Even if I were to do something of that nature, I'd still want to keep my shoulders somewhat back. No, I am human and I am guilty of doing those kinds of things as well. Especially after these kinds of heavy load, or not heavy loads, but high intensity maybe fuels. It's very common to want to try to stretch out the muscle that was just heavily worked. So this is, again, a great one to work for posture. This is a great one to work for just improvement of shoulder health and connecting the system as a whole. You see there, just kind of let the weight, just gently let it hit, not let the weight slam, and then we get out of there. So we'll edit, not share. Shada. All right. Made that correction. So again, if y'all are hanging out and watching and you've got a movement or an exercise that's been bugging you and you're wanting some tips on or advice on, feel free, slide it into our subreddit. You can put, I don't have any real instructions on it now. I mean, you tell me what you're doing, what you're working. Tell me your goals, hopes and dreams, or what's bugging you and what you're trying to get some help with. And like I've said earlier, Thursdays mornings is y'all's day. You get a video in here. I'll review it, give you my 2 cents on how you can improve on it, and keep on at it. All right, so here again, we're getting back into a back squat. They got these lights, so I apologize for the crappy lighting. So anytime we're getting set up for a bar squat, a back squat, again, find your hand positions, get them lined up, make sure they're even with each other, make sure you're square up with the bar. I know that seems kind of like no shit, dumbass, but it's very easy to get kind of off center, especially as we're fatigued. So this is where you're creating your little rituals, your little habits of getting set up. When I get my hands in place, I check my grips. And then I even pull against the bar a little bit to try to pull my shoulders back to even get a little bit of stretch to my chest. I even have, again, some stomach engagement, my core drawn in, as it were. And then I duck under and pull myself up and under the bar. And you may see me kind of wiggle and walk as I'm trying to get a nice low bar squat. So as I get more, as my shoulders warm up and as I get a better external rotation of my shoulders, right, I want to try to take up as much of that real estate as possible. Part of our mobility issues is we don't go into these places, as it were. The dumb adage of if you don't use it, you lose it. Very, very true in a lot of senses, right? If you never reach overhead, not only you're going to not develop the strength to go up overhead, but all that connective tissue has been trained not to work on that. Oh, Jock, you're so nice with the best viewers. But you know, the best viewers are free viewers. So we're going to report you. Because, well, yeah, who the fuck wants to deal with bots bringing in fucking... I want to restrict. I want to fucking ban this motherfucker. Warn them. Time them out. There it is. Ban. How do I report them too? That's sad. You had an account since 2018. Let's see. I don't want your fucking stream. Why does this stuff have to be so difficult? Banned. There it is. Report. Where's the spam? I want the spam. Next. Spam. Next. Well, sir. Appreciate the help in my daily practice of learning how to ban people on Twitch. Appreciate that. Let's get back to the exercises now. So getting back squat, we were talking about wedging ourselves up, getting into a good position. Yeah, if we don't challenge the body in certain ranges of motion, if we don't ask the body to try to express places it's called designed or structurally allowed, then we won't. This is what a frozen shoulder basically is the body starts calcifying parts of our joints of the shoulder because of injury, because some traumatic injury happened. But to prevent re-injury, the body starts calcifying shit, and so that way you just physically can't do it. Now this starts out much more benign, right? And maybe it's just hard for you to lift your arm up at first. But a lot of times what ends up happening is like someone's reaching for something back behind them and it's heavier than they thought, or they kind of whip it up or however. And then they create an injury, and then that injury, then they do the old Rice method. They don't use it. They restrict all of their uses. And then the next time they actually have to use it, they're like a little fucking T-Rex arm. Like, just like a goddamn door hinge, y'all. If you never open and close a door, well, when you do try to open or close that door, it ain't gonna fucking move. Joints are hinges. So, all that to be said, check yourself. Are you in the best position that you can get into for back squat or whatever other exercise you're doing? Try to make it a little larger here. So earlier I was doing a Romanian deadlift, and now this is a squat. Now I like to think Romanian deadlifts or a hip hinge is the foundation of any lower body movement or exercise. And if you watch here, the first thing I really do is that right there, that little, it's a good morning. It's a hip hinge. It's a Romanian deadlift, whatever you want to think of it as. It's that little hip hinge starts the movement. Why? What does that do for you? Why does practicing that and not just going up and down matter? This is how we become a tortoise. Right? This is the whole point of it, right? This is how we become a tortoise. We take the time to think about our body position. We take time to rehearse and practice basic movements. And then we get into the actual movement. Right? We don't just slap weights on the bar and just make our body go up and down and go, oh, I wonder why my back hurts. Dude, back squats suck. All I ever do is hurt my shoulders or hurt my back. They're trash. No. Right? We're trying things without understanding them, which is, it's your life. Do it how you want. But if you can understand, one, how to do it, and two, why you can't or are able to do it, then you can build off of it. But if you don't understand what you're doing or why you're doing it, man, it just becomes movement for the sake of movement. And there's a lot better ways and a lot safer ways of doing that. So we get a hip hinge to begin, but because I'm squatting, I got to get the knee bend. Look like a little core loss there, a little butt wink or something. That was better. So I'm going a little quick. I'd like to see it go a little slower. I like the pause at the bottom. We're getting a good solid pause. And that's where, again, the idea of, again, being a tortoise. Take your time in your lift. Oh, but it's super exhausting and tiring and it's over stressing. Look, people get hurt in day-to-day life because they are not strong enough in these end ranges of motion. Now, the way people hurt themselves also is they try to be strong in these end ranges of motions, but they lack the prerequisites. Right? That's the other aspect of this thing. And so we hip hinge, again, that sense of, like I was talking about it earlier, if we peel back a couple exercises, this one. This is the exact same movement pattern. That's what I say. If you know these basic movement patterns, like all these exercises are the same fucking thing. It's not all that complicated. We make it more complicated in a lot of cases. And occasionally it's needed to be complicated because of maybe the pain or injury or the situation someone's in. Right? Like if you're an amputee and you have adaptive needs for the lower body, right? Depending on what those are, it's going to change how some of this works. And that is what it is. And that doesn't mean, though, that the rest of the limbs don't function on the same level, right? So, even if I was at the gym yesterday with my pops and I saw a young man with a prosthetic leg, and he was resting all of his body weight on the prosthetic leg, and his other leg was in a extended kind of lock-kneed position. And so instantly this tells me two things. One, he probably is going to have people with adaptive needs are always going to have, I feel, are going to have a lot more pains than likely most than, non-adaptive needs individuals, in that like their body's not whole. And so their body is going to be filled with compensations to make life work. That doesn't mean they're just walking around in pain, but very likely, if you watch Special Olympics and you watch runners or sprinters, even with the latest and greatest technologies, right? Like there's a little bit of a weird, not weird, but a non-traditional run cycle. Oh, what up, Julist? Thank you. From Taiwan. Well, appreciate you. I'm from Texas. Houston, America. Thank you for visiting. Oh, yes, I do speak English. It's all English, bad English. I got a little bit of Spanish. I don't have anything else other than that. 8:16 here. It's 7:16 here. It's like the same time. PM might be a little different. You're in my future. Whoa now, whoa now. Get me in trouble with the missus. How's your day been? I blocked it. Uh-oh. Dinner. What was for dinner? I didn't know I had my whispers blocked. We'll take a look at that real quick since you brought it up. Had other people's whispers me. Had other people's whispers me. We don't need Had other get terrible sounds. Let's not do that. Huh. Got the infinite. Oh my God. Let's get out of this. We need bail. Put it on the other screen. Dumplings. Oh. What kind of dumplings did you have? Dude, we got some pretty badass dumpling spots up in here. Chili oil. Like the garlic chili oil. Shit is awesome. Now, do you do vegetarian, pork, chicken? What's your go-to? Pork. And chives. My God, you just reminded me of my father. There you wait, where am I looking? I'm all distracted. So my father loves chives. And let's see. And so anytime, yeah, right. Anytime we go out to a restaurant that has chives as a part of the dish or whatever, I don't whisper, I don't know. He's like, now I need lots of chives. Now I know you think you know what a lot of chives are, but I need a lot of chives. Like not just like a little bitty chives. Like I need a lot of chives. I'm like, Dad, just let the person do their fucking job. Whisper. I keep clicking whisper. Oh, there it is. You know, I was talking earlier about how humans are terrible multi-processing units. This is case in point. Why? Terrible multi-processors. All right, let me get rid of that there. All right, I'll mess with that. I think I whispered you. I think I sent you a message saying test, so feel free. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up. Appreciate you reaching out. And there he is. Old Bowser. Big bean burrito. Bowser, I was trying to work on it. Oh, God. Burrito. That's why we can't have nice things, sir. Person. But actually, I was trying to make a meme this morning that I think you would have been proud of. And it was a little Koopa. I appreciate the emojis as all. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna work on that maybe today. There's gonna be a little poster with a Koopa on it. You know, obviously, it's gonna work for the stream of being the tortoise or the hare, but we'll just make it anyways, right? Fuck it. All right. So getting back into the squatting. Again, 7 exercises. If you can learn these 7, hip hinge, squat, lunge, horizontal, vertical pressing, which are just the opposites of a horizontal and vertical pulling. All right. Then again, the world of exercise is your oyster. Got the emojis going. Dumplings and burritos. That would be a good fusion right there. Oh, that would be a really good fusion. I mean, I guess dumplings are already kind of burritos, aren't they? Like they're like mini burritos. But there's something just so wholesome about a tortilla. Like a good flour tortilla. It would be messy. So I take it you did steamed dumplings then. Yes. Dumplings are so great. Basically, you can't have friend in chili oil. I'm not following. I don't know. We got a jar of that stuff. Oh, you can't have fried. Ah, that's true. I suppose. No worries. No worries. I'm half dyslexic anyway, so I misread shit all the time. Oh, Bowser. No, like, I know every culture has their own, like, empanadas. I think of everything as, like, empanadas. But, like, dumplings are just empanadas, right? Oh, I'm not. I've just talking. Oh, wrong browser. It's like tasty meats wrapped up in. Well, I appreciate the compliment. But no, it's every culture is like they got their own like breading wrapped around some meats or something with a tasty sauce. I've yet to come across one that I don't like. So, continuing on, just like every culture has a tasty empanada or dumpling, right? Exercise. They're all the same. You just wrap a different breading on top, and then, right, you have a different exercise. See how we eventually landed this. We connected it. We segued, maybe. So, overhead pressing is again one of my. I call it my nemesis. But if we look at the shoulders, this is going to be a terrible, but we'll make it work. And so for me, again, my struggle on the right shoulder, I think is this, again, this side right here. We can see that just a different angle to that shoulder. And I've been fussing a lot of it with like this anterior side. I think it was something maybe in the chest or in the front of the shoulder. But when conversating with my colleague, Paul, right, this is where he helped point out that it's likely more in my serratus underneath in my rib cage. I'm going to be playing with that this next week. And we'll see maybe if we can see a little bit difference in how my shoulders look and definitely how I feel on them. So with, again, we can just kind of see left or right, that little bit of asymmetry. So now let's get to the lift. And we'll try to look for other differences. Oh, you asked a question. I'm sorry. I looked and then I looked away. Like on overhead press, the big game is going to be keeping those elbow tilts pointing forward. And keeping those elbow points tilted forward as we're driving and keeping those as we're pressing. Now, you'll notice like when I'm lifting, right, I'm trying to keep my elbows above the shoulders. And this is 2 points really. The big focal point is when we bring the elbows below the shoulder, right? It allows the delt to rest. And so keeping the shoulders back and not letting it come down is going to help keep that tension on there. The other side of this is, again, this is where we're going to be really the weakest as far as the stability of like in my shoulder joint. And so just trying to keep it in that challenge zone and working it from there. Now we don't have an angle on this one. But where we see a lot of problems is, I think this camera might work best, is when we press, we don't want to be pressing out in front, right? It's not like we're being a cheerleader. We're really working on trying to get that elbow to be over the shoulder as it comes up. There's a slight angle. We got the arms maybe like 45 degrees. I always tease clients, who's got 2 dumbbells and is a badass? All right. If you're holding the dumbbells, it's you. You're the badass. When we hold those shoulders back and press them at that 45-degree angle, and then again, there's going to be a slight taper, bringing them up over the shoulders. Now, do you use a dumbbell? Do you use a barbell? Do you use a kettlebell? Do you use bands? Again, once you learn the movement, it's really up to you what you like. Now, I elect dumbbells because, again, there's not a fixed point between the two. All right. My 38-year-old ass does not need like more shoulder issues than I already got. And so when we have that bar, if I use this towel and I got this fixed point between my hands, that's where we're stuck at. And so as I go further up, like my hands have to stay here. They can't get further apart, which then invites more internal rotation for me to press. And so if I have my hands independent of each other, well, then this is going to help me invite more external rotation of the shoulders as I press. And if my hands have to move a little further apart, so be it. But it's going to give us more stability challenge in the shoulders, which is a good thing. But it's also going to allow for better joint mechanics. All right. And we got better joint mechanics. We get to eat more dumplings or burritos or whatever empanadas that we enjoy. Well, fuck, that's it for today, y'all. Juliswa. I'm not sure how to say that name. Thank you for joining us today. That's going to be pretty much a wrap for it for this morning. I got my own shit to do. I got to go make Julie even better. I can say Julie. But yep. But you haven't asked. I did. You just weren't listening. But in any case, if you're interested, if you're enjoying yourself here, again, we're doing this Tuesdays. We do on Tuesdays, Paul and I, we get on here and we have more of a kind of round table and just bullshit. If you got pain or questions, that's a great time for you just to come in and pick our brains. We might have an agenda, but that doesn't mean we couldn't be interrupted. And then, my nearly 40 ass gets up here on Thursday mornings and does grinding Gainz, a caffeinated critique. Right. And so if you have an exercise you want checked out, or again, if you're having pain in an exercise, feel free to upload it to our subreddit. And you can create yourself an anonymous account and all that jazz. You don't even have to message me or anything. If you just pop in here, we'll upload, or if you upload it in there Thursday, we'll check it out. See, anything else to report? I got to work on video scripts today. So hopefully in about a week or two, we start getting some videos out for y'all to be able to see in general cueing and kind of an exercise library. Oh, that reminds me. It popped up once in the chat. If you are looking for a workout plan, I'm not going to write it. We don't want to write workouts. However, we've worked on a LLM, so a large language model, AI. Fancy stuff, all the rage, they say. You can take those prompts, fill in some questions or some data from yourself that's individual to you, like what your goals are, if you've had any pains, injuries, things of that nature, what equipment you have access to, maybe your expertise level, how long you've been working out or not working out. And then you can even choose an influencer or fitness brand that you like as what would the right word be? Influence for it. And then it'll spit you out a workout plan. If you ask them for a 4-week workout plan, it'll give it to you. So just some cool things out there that we're trying to mess with and give for the peoples. Again, Julie, thank you for being here. Bowser Big Bean Burrito, thank you for hanging out. And I guess if y'all are still here, we'll I think Celsi's. Oh yeah, Celsi's live. We'll go raid Celsi. I haven't hanging out with him in a while. If you're looking for a workout, Celsi's a great one to follow along. He does some pretty creative workouts for himself as well. For the peoples. All right, y'all. Thank y'all again. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Where is he? Following. Come to me, Celsi. Y'all have a great one. Appreciate it.